Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bedrock Guide. We are back over at our starter house where zombies have been letting themselves in because we have a few supplies that we need to gather and get ready for today's episode. The contraption we are about to build and what you're about to see has taken hours of sweat and tears and sadness, followed by instant joy when it finally worked. We're talking about a multi-item sorting system. Holy smokes, that's an underground ravine right there. Not so underground anymore. Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Oh, creeper's gonna creep. If you've been a part of any of my live streams lately, you might know that we've dug this entire mountain area pretty much out, about up to here. This area looks pretty large, but it's honestly not that big for the type of system that we're going to be building because our redstone circuitry, including the chests at the front, is 12 blocks in length. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, this is the front of the double chest. If we start at the very back of the cave, where we've already dug, that shrinks the room, and it doesn't leave us much room to walk right here because we are going to expand this little river, and I think we're going to have to push back into the pond a little bit when we get to putting storage on this side of the cave. But let's start over here at the beginning. Here's the idea. Up here is going to be the highest point in the treasure cave, and I think we'll stack some gold blocks and diamond blocks and things like that in here, things that are very valuable, and then we'll put a few in chests and things like that, and that's totally fine. So somewhere over here, I'm thinking we'll have a input of some sort, and then I think over here will be our first line of chests. Now, what we need to be careful of is going over here to make sure we don't break into the iron farm, so we can come over no farther than X258. Yeah, I think if we do this right, this should be fine, because we're going to fill all that back in. This will be okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our yellow concrete, which corresponds to our valuable items, and we're going to place one maybe right here. This is going to represent the outside of one of the double chests. So we'll put one here, and then we'll put another block. In between these yellow pieces of concrete, we're going to put one chest right here and one chest right here. We will sink them back into the wall, so there will be a double chest here, but these are just placeholders for the moment just to get the spacing correct throughout the room. This will be our valuable storage. And we'll also go ahead and do this, and this, again, just to get the general layout. So, in this top chest here, we're going to have coal. I expect to have a lot of it, so we're going to go ahead and throw one full double chest of coal. Then this second one, we're going to share gold and lapis. And then the third one, we're going to share emeralds, diamonds, and ancient debris. Then this right here is actually empty. It is going to be expansion storage. I'm building in extra storage just in case we run out of room. Let's say maybe we have a full double chest of coal. We'll go ahead and expand it. And maybe we'll actually utilize one of these chests for flint as well, because flint and steel, very important for our gold farm. So yeah, we've got some built-in expansion so that we don't run out of room and end up regretting it later. So that's the first module. That's it. That's done. Well, kind of. The redstone is not done. The circuitry is not done. It's just the layout. And next up, we have redstone farms and crafting utilities. So we'll go ahead and place one right here. I think that'll be okay. We can have some chests that are lining this doorway. And this will be nice because the valuables will kind of line this side and the redstone stuff will line this side on into our iron farm. I feel like that's a good layout. So then we do the same thing. We separate by 2. We get a double chest, double chest. Next up is going to be food and mob drops. So we'll go ahead and place this right here. Get a chest, and purple. With this one, we actually have 3 modules. So we're going to go ahead and do 1, 2, and then we'll go ahead and separate by 1 block, and then we'll do 1 more chest right there, and then a purple block. It's a little asymmetrical because this has 2 chests and that has 1, but I think that's okay. This whole room is supposed to feel a little asymmetrical. It's not supposed to line up exactly, and I think that will do just fine. This is the first time I've built a storage system like this. It's much more creative and less linear. A lot of storage systems have a bunch of chests in a row, just lined up side by side. This is not what we're going for. We are going for something a little bit more free flow, a little bit more creative, and I think this could end up looking really cool and functioning well if we do it correctly. This is why we're going ahead and planning this out rather than just dropping redstone circuits and hoping for the best. Okay, so we've got our modules in place. The first one over here is for valuables. We'll talk about this in a second. Then we've got redstone and food supplies. And we've got the various dimension blocks, whether it's overworld, nether, and those types of things. Then we've got wood varieties and saplings and leaves and all of the tree-ish kind of stuff. And then we've got some overflow for all the miscellaneous type stuff that doesn't fit in any one of those categories. The basic principle for every module is the same. So I'm only going to show you how to build these two right here, and then I will build the rest of these off camera, and then I'll show you how to link them together. The first thing that we're going to want to do is expand these chests. They are only single chests right now, so we want to go ahead and make them double. So we'll come back here, face the same direction as the chests, and place one down. And then this is easy from here. We can just go ahead and connect all of these up. And then we'll grab some hoppers and connect them to the back of each double chest, just like that. Then something I should explain before we move on. The reason we put this whole unit in such a large space, doesn't seem like we would need that just for a few hoppers, is because of the way that hoppers work. We are building a multi-item storage system. For example, that means if we wanted to put glass in here, we could put glass in each of the 3 rows just like that. And then anytime glass comes across here, white stained glass specifically, it will drop and fill up each of these inventory slots until this is completely full. We can also put redstone torches if we wanted to do that. I don't know why you would, but you could. So only white stained glass and redstone torches would be allowed in this chest. But that is not enough to make this system function correctly because of the way that hoppers work. Hoppers will prefer to pull downward before they push forward. So if there is a hopper underneath another hopper, this hopper will pull items from the top hopper before this top hopper will allow items to go forward. So we need to hook up a locking mechanism to get these hoppers to alternate locking back and forth to allow one item in each hopper at a time. Basically, we have to slow down the rate that hoppers transport items. And actually, before we build that circuit, there is something else we need to do. We need to go ahead and place a block right here, and then another hopper underneath facing into that block, which then we can break. That's not a big deal. It's just temporary. We need the items to pull down below the bottom chest and then into another distribution line. So we'll go ahead and line this up. This is very important. You need this in this exact orientation in order for this locking mechanism that we're about to hook up to work correctly. And I actually spent about 2 hours on Twitch the other night live designing this storage system with the help of several amazing community members. So many people gave suggestions and thoughts and tips on redstone timings and different things like that. So thank you to everyone that helped out. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to go to this hopper right here in front of this forward-facing hopper, and we'll go ahead and crouch so that we can place a repeater directly on top of that. Don't do anything with timings just yet. We'll look at those here in a moment because there are some varieties of timings throughout the system and you don't want to mess them up. So leave it at 1 tick for now. We'll come back to it and set the timings in a minute. Then out of the side of this repeater, we'll go ahead and place a block right here. We're going to use yellow concrete for this module just to coincide with the theme over here. These actually won't stay. They won't be visible in the final design, but it'll be nice to have color-coordinated redstone circuits for each area of the storage room. Then we'll want to place another block right here, and out of the side of that block, we want a redstone torch. So that repeater will light up, which will lock this hopper right here, which will not allow items to flow into it. So, for example, if we put yellow concrete in here, they are flowing, but they're not going into that hopper. They are locking and going into this bottom chest here. So every single piece of yellow concrete that we just put in that hopper, because this is locked, is going to go forward. If we were to break this torch and unlock the hopper, then yellow concrete is free to flow through. Next, we want to do the same thing right here. We want a repeater sitting parallel with this one, but 1 block above. And then we want to place a piece of concrete right here out of the side of this hopper so that this will power that block and power this hopper to lock it at the point that it's ready to lock. We'll go ahead and put this redstone torch back. Then we can place a block right here. and a block right here, and then a redstone torch out of the side of this block. But this one is going to be depowered because the redstone torch that is powered under here is powering this block, and if this block is powered, it inverts the signal of this redstone torch, which makes sure that this is shut off. So this hopper is locked, but this one is not. Then we can go ahead and do the same thing right here, and we'll do it one more time up at this hopper right here with a block and a block, and a redstone torch out of the side here, and then last but not least, put a block right here. This is 100% crucial. If you do not put this block here, the system will not function correctly. It may seem insignificant, but it is not. That is one side of the locking mechanism mostly complete. We're gonna leave the other one empty for now, but we will mirror this on the opposite side here in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we need a way for this contraption to tick. So what we want to do is find the repeater right here at the bottom of the tower, and we'll go ahead and place one block underneath that, and then we'll go directly under it, and we'll place a block down right here, and one more on top of that. Then we want one redstone torch right here, which doesn't do anything quite yet until you place a redstone torch right here, and boom. We've got a little bit of alternating going on. So watch this. If we break this torch, these are off and those are on. If we replace the torch, those are on and those are off. We're going to hook up a clock to this at some point in order to alternate the pattern to unlock one hopper at a time and allow items to flow through. So that's pretty much it for the locking mechanism. We'll go ahead and mirror this on the other side, and then we'll come back and keep going. Once you have your circuit completed, these will mirror each other, so the inside torches will be on, powering the repeaters, and the outside torches will be off. I totally forgot to add this earlier, but again, make sure, just like this bottom one here, any repeaters that are on the outside of the hoppers need to have a block right next to the hopper they are trying to lock. Then out of the bottom of these torch towers right here, we can go ahead and place one concrete, two concrete, one and a two, and then we'll connect these up like this, and then a repeater, and some redstone dust to connect these up. We need a way to constantly be inverting the signal of these torches, which in turn inverts the signal of the torch towers. In order to do that, we have a redstone block here. So if we place it down, you can see both sides at the same time invert. Oh, redstone torch needs to go there, and now everything is working like it should. So if we break that redstone block, then everything inverts back to the way it was. So we're gonna take our infrastructure blocks and place them down there. We'll grab a sticky piston and place it down right there. And then we will place a temporary lever on the back of this and extend the sticky piston. In the same way that we built the clock for the gold farm, we're gonna have a 2x2 square right next to this sticky piston. And I've got two repeaters here. One of them is gonna go here, and one of them is going to go here. Then we'll put a block here and one piece of redstone dust. And this clock is complete, except for the timings. Timings are next. The next thing we need to do is set this one to 4 ticks, and then this one to 2 ticks. That is a total of 6 ticks on this clock. So if we turn it on, it's got a nice, relatively slow pace. If you change these timings at all, the entire system will break. We spent tedious hours testing out several different combinations of timings on these repeaters, and it has to be set to 6 ticks, at least for the design that we've come up with. So then we need to take a look at these timings right here. If we look at these inside repeaters right here, we need to set every single repeater that's on the inside of the circuit to 2 ticks. And then the repeaters that are on the outsides of the hoppers need to be set to 3 ticks. This has to be the exact same across the board for every module in order to get these hoppers to lock and unlock at the correct timings so that only one item is allowed through the system at a time. One last thing to mention as well is that these repeaters down here can be left at 1 tick. I did just realize there is a slight mistake here. Not a big deal, easy to fix. We actually need to flip this back to the back of the unit because that's how the rest of these are designed. So, one moment. Okay, there we go. I flipped the little circuit around back here. I rebuilt the clock back in the back as well to link up with it. Now, we're ready for our item elevator. So what we're going to do is we're going to go along this outside edge right here, and we're going to go 1, 2, and then go 1, 2. And then we'll break these temporary blocks right here, and we'll leave this one in place. Then we need to dig down one, and we need to look straight up at this guy right here and grab one of our observer blocks and place it down right there so that the red dot is facing downward. And then we'll go ahead and place a temporary block, break this one right here, and then a sticky piston facing into this observer block. And then we'll do the same thing over here with one block gap in between, except for these will be reversed. The piston will be here, the observer will be here. So we'll dig straight down by one block, and there we go. That's the start to our item elevators. Next, we need to go over here on top of the yellow blocks, and on the outer edge, away from the sticky piston, we need to put another observer block facing downward. And then on top of the observers, we need an upward facing dropper, so we'll do that in both spots. And then on top of these, we need a piece of soul sand. Go ahead and grab a comparator and place it down on the yellow block right here facing out of the dropper, a piece of redstone dust, and then a block right there. And this circuit is complete. We'll do the same thing over here, and we're going to put glass right down by the dropper. This comparator will not allow us to place one by the dropper, so we'll just go ahead and place one on top. It's totally fine. And then we'll do it on that side, and then we'll build up by one. And then we need to go grab some water, and we're going to start building these up slowly. When we get to this point, we're going to go ahead and pause the water elevators because we need these hoppers to meet up with them, and to make that easier, we're just going to wait to build these up the rest of the way. So what we'll do is go ahead and take some concrete, place it down here and here temporarily. We need to have a forward-facing hopper in both of these slots. They cannot be downward facing, they have to be forward. And then we'll just go ahead and build these out to here, and we'll build this out to here, but we are going to go ahead and make this one round the corner just like that. Then we'll go ahead and build up these water elevators the rest of the way, and we're just going to block this off with glass like this so that the water can flow up and over into this hopper, which this hopper will lead into this line right here. Then if the items pass through all of these hoppers and don't have an opportunity to pass into one of the chests, it will go down below, and we will lead this hopper line into the next dropper, which will push items up and over into this hopper line. And then if they pass through here, they will go into this hopper and on over to the next section. One thing I might want to do as well, which I think I am going to do, is replace these glass pieces right here. And I think that's probably it. I'm going to replace those with magma, just in case any fish happen to spawn here. Then we don't have fish just hanging out in the sorting system. And once our water elevators are finished, they will look something like this. This one's a little bit longer that goes into this hopper right here. And then this one's a little bit shorter. It goes straight up from the water elevator, the bubble column there, over and into this hopper. And so what we want to do is we want to go down below and we'll connect these up. We'll go ahead and break this piece of glass and that piece of glass, and we want this hopper to face into this side of this dropper right here, and then we'll just go ahead and bring it all the way back until it meets up with this first line right here. We should get items flowing through here whenever the system is activated, and we'll place a hopper into the side of this dropper right there, and then this line will run over eventually to wherever our input section is going to be. Now that we've got a functioning module, we need to figure out a way to hook this up so that we don't have to flip a lever on our clock every time we want this system to run. That's where all of this light blue concrete comes into play. Now don't worry, I've already laid this out, but I am going to explain how everything is hooked up. So just pay close attention and you'll be able to replicate this for yourself. But just keep in mind that this is just a general principle, because you may not build your storage system exactly laid out the same way that I have. After all, mine is spread across an entire mountain. Yours might be lined up row by row. Just keep these principles in mind. They will work the exact same way. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put a redstone torch out of the side of this block to light up this piece of redstone dust right here, which will eliminate our need for this lever. Then we're going to go ahead and grab redstone dust and place it right here, 3 little pieces in an L shape. And then we are going to grab our comparators and make a pulse extender by placing comparators facing this direction. There are 6 of them on each side, and then redstone dust, and then 6 more comparators. This doesn't do anything quite yet, but it will. The next thing we're going to do is take a redstone repeater and place it out of this piece of dust connected to this piston, so that anytime an item enters this dropper and fires off into the water elevator, later, it will fire a signal out this direction, which then will power our pulse extender for the first time. So redstone dust right here, and then we want a repeater right here so that the signal doesn't bleed back into the rest of the system. Then 2 more pieces of redstone dust, and then another small pulse extender, and there are only 2 comparators on each side this time, and that's where we're going to stop for the moment. So if we go ahead and toss in 1 item, here we go. Everything lights up like a Christmas tree. The system is running. This clock will stay active as long as this pulse extender is active, and now it's going to shut off any second. And there we go. The clock is disabled, and we should have an item in the chest upstairs. And those are my other items from the tests a minute ago. So there you go. We know that it works. But if we're to go in and place 53 items in here, this is going to fire off faster than this clock can keep up with. So this will be empty, and this pulse extender will shut off long before the items exit this hopper up here. Let me show you what I mean. So our items have stopped firing, but check this out. It's a very slow trickle. We've got items still flowing into this hopper, and our clock has already stopped, which means these are locked here permanently. They will not go anywhere else. We've got some redstone dust that has come through, but this is a problem. This is actually good. We want this block right here to lock this hopper so that 1 item is allowed into the rest of the system at a time. This really only applies to this first module because the rest of them will kind of sort themselves out as it goes. We can't be having items stuck in this hopper. That's why I've placed a comparator right here on this blue piece of concrete. We're going to detect whenever there's an item in here, which this comparator already is, and we will run a redstone cascading torch tower down to our pulse extender so that anytime an item is in there, the pulse extender will fire and it will keep the clock going. If you don't know what a cascading torch tower is, it's very, very simple. Basically, what you do is you take a block with a torch out of the side, and then below it or next to it, you place redstone dust on top of another block, and then out of that block, you've got a torch, and then you got redstone dust on top of this block, and then a redstone torch out of that block, redstone dust on top, redstone torch. You get the idea. It basically allows a redstone signal to travel down, and a lot of times you do this like vertically, straight down, but we went horizontally, and that's totally fine. The idea in principle still works. So right now, both of these lines are shut off. Let me go through this one more time. When an item enters into this dropper, it'll power the comparator, which will power this block, which will power this piece of dust, which will send a signal into this pulse extender, which will allow this pulse extender time to light fully up, and it will turn the entire system on. Then, when items reach the hopper up there, the comparator will send a signal down this torch tower and light up this signal, which will go ahead and put a repeater here just so it doesn't bleed backwards. It's not really a big deal. You can leave that as dust, but just to keep everything nice and clean and know where every signal is coming from, a repeater's not a bad idea. As long as there are items in that hopper, this pulse extender will stay active and allow the clock to keep running. So let's test it out one more time with about 34 redstone comparators. We'll toss those in there. This is still off. And now it's on because there are now items in that hopper. So even after the items stop flowing from this dropper, this pulse extender will die down, but this one will keep going because there is a constant signal coming from that hopper up there. That's the basic principle of the entire system. Now all we have to do is hook the entire thing up. I can't stress this enough. This is not Redstone 101. Some basic knowledge and principles kind of apply here. If you have questions, be sure to join my Discord. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and there are awesome people in the community that will be happy to jump in as well. Honestly, some that know even more about this than I do. The link is in the description. Check it out. I know it may not seem like it should take that long to build a storage system. It's just a bunch of chests, right? Wrong. This has taken us longer than any other project in this series so far, but we're nearly done. And all the time spent on this is going to save us so much time in sorting items later and finding our materials when we're ready to use them. This is going to set us up for the rest of the series. So let's take a look at what we've got going on down here. This redstone line right here links up to the locking mechanism, and it does go through the wall. We ran it under the floor, but I'll show you where it comes out. And that line runs over here to the next module and then through the wall again, which connects up to the next module and on and on and on until it finally reaches the end of the line at the final module in this system. This redstone line is completely for the clock so that these hoppers will lock and relock with the redstone signal pulsing. We'll demonstrate demonstrate this here in just a second. The only thing connecting these lines up are repeaters and redstone dust. So just grab a bunch of both and you will be just fine. Then, as we demonstrated earlier, we've got these mini pulse extenders coming out of the back of every single module, and they all link together and chain back to the original as well. So they will follow this blue concrete infrastructure line all the way over by our iron farm, and then back to this main pulse extender that keeps the clock running. If you followed the tutorial for this first module here, you should have no problem hooking up the rest of these, as it is just connecting a bunch of lines together. The other fun thing that we put in place is this little river stream thing right here. We didn't have to do this. We could have just run hoppers underneath the floor, but I figured, you know what, why not have fun with it for a little part of the storage system? So as soon as items leave this module, they will go through this hopper line into this dropper, which has the exact same circuitry as these, so you should be able to build that, and it fires items out into this water stream and then deposits them into a hopper over here, which then connects them back up to the rest of the system. And from here on out, it's just hoppers connecting the entire thing. So again, just to demonstrate so that you know how this is hooked up, all of this is exactly the same from module to module. You got an input line coming into the first dropper elevator. That water elevator goes up and into the first line of chests. And then when it's done there, it comes into this water elevator, goes into the second line of chests. When it exits the second line of chests, it goes to the hoppers that connects to the next module, and it repeats the entire thing over again. It's a lot of repetition and a lot of connecting things up. The last thing I did before this clip was I went ahead and organized a good chunk of the storage. It is mostly done, and any place that has these item filters in here means it's either expansion or I don't have items yet to put in there. And then we've got like redstone stuff, redstone supplies, we got pistons galore, hoppers, droppers, dispensers, all sorts of things, and on down the line. We've got almost everything sorted out. Let's grab a few potatoes. We've got 13 potatoes. There are 13 here. By the time this is done filtering out, we should have 26 potatoes in here, and then maybe we'll grab these spider eyes. We'll toss the potatoes, toss the spider eyes, and there comes the potatoes spitting out into the water stream. And let's check it out. We've got 26 potatoes as we had when we started. And over here, we're getting the spider eyes. Fantastic. You can watch them trickle in, and we should end up with 12. And there we go. And as you can see, the system is flickering on and off because that clock is still running, but it should shut off shortly. And there we go. The system is now disabled, waiting for items to flow through again. But guys, that is going to do it for today. If you have questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd be happy to answer as many as I possibly can, or join up with my Discord server where I and several of our community members would be happy to help you out and answer any questions if you're confused about anything you saw today. Stay tuned for the next episode as we will finish up the input for our storage system. We've got some fun things in store for that, and we also got something fun in line that I haven't told you about yet. It's going to be really, really cool. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like on the video. It really does help me out a ton, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more Bedrock Guide content just like this. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.